What's up, everyone? Tera Roberts here with 4 for 4, and we are talking late round wide receivers. Let's look at guys being drafted around the 9th round or later. These are guys that are typically always available in late rounds, but have legitimate upside to actually help you win your fantasy league. Let's start things off in Kansas City. One of the most ambiguous receiving cores out there in the NFL is the Kansas City Chiefs. The upside within the Chiefs receiving core is often overlooked because the true wide receiver one in that offense is Travis Kelce, but it is very possible that a league-winning wide receiver could come from this group. Kadarius Toney is the favorite to come out of this group as the potential wide receiver one, but we can't overlook the reality that while Toney has huge upside, he is still a liability. The true late round wide receiver readily available for you to snatch up in your fantasy draft is Skyy Moore. News from the Chiefs offseason is that Moore is reportedly making significant leaps and should have a meaningful role in 2023. We don't have a ton of statistics to work with here because Moore's opportunity was extremely limited in 2022. Moore had just 22 receptions on 33 targets for 250 yards and no touchdowns. A big part of that lack of usage was that he wasn't actually on the field a lot, apart from a 4-game stretch when Toney was injured. But I still contend that Moore is a player that profiles as less of a year one impact and more of a developmental starter. Moore has truly got wide receiver 2 upside at a huge ADP discount. For this next player, go with me on this. The Packers offense is not going to be that bad, I promise. I'm not saying that this is a playoff team, that they're going to be elite, but it's definitely not going to be that bad. And Romeo Doubs is a legitimate late round receiver that is always available and can truly help you win your fantasy league. Jordan Love isn't going to immediately step in and fill Aaron Rodgers' shoes, but the Packers' quarterback situation is far less concerning than other teams transitioning to new quarterbacks such as Tampa Bay, Washington, Indianapolis, Houston, and Carolina. Love has been in this system, and he's been spending the entire offseason developing chemistry with his receivers. And there is a clear connection between Love and Romeo Doubs. Doubs struggled with injuries last season and was third in the pecking order behind Christian Watson and Allen Lazard. But to his credit, Doubs made a strong impact and had excellent snap counts when healthy, and had multiple high upside games, including an 8-for-8 game with 73 yards and a touchdown. I do think that Watson will remain the alpha in this offense, and Doubs could actually see more targets. Now, this is not a direct comparison to these players, but kind of think of it in this way. Traditionally, Mike Evans has been more of the productive alpha receiver for Tampa Bay, but with less receptions than Chris Godwin, right? Evans serves as the big play guy, the touchdown magnet, while Godwin racks up more frequent opportunities. I could see this being a very similar relationship developing between Watson and Doubs. So while technically Watson is definitely still the alpha, Doubs could still be very fantasy relevant through more receptions. For this next player, his situation is shaky, but he could be a reliable option for your fantasy team. The Raiders' offensive situation is less than ideal, obviously. The team is coming off a horrendous year. They dumped Derek Carr. They signed Jimmy G. They aren't actually sure when Jimmy G is going to play. Josh Jacobs still won't sign his franchise tag, but amidst all of this chaos is a potential fantasy gem in Jakobi Meyers. Meyers is often overlooked, but has steadily produced for 2 straight seasons as a wide receiver 3 in PPR in less than ideal offenses in New England. So the struggle is no stranger to Jakobi Meyers. And Meyers' 2022 numbers would have been stronger, but he dealt with injury. But he served as a high-volume receiver in the past, and he finally hit his stride last year with touchdowns. And he's really just an overall solid player. With Darren Waller in New York and Matt Collins in Atlanta, there are plenty of targets for Meyers to dive right into, and his skill set should play well off of Devontae Adams. Meyers is a guy that no one is reaching for, but is a player that you can actually trust as a flex option in your lineup. He may not have a high ceiling, but his floor should be very reliable. Moving on to the next player. The Texans' receiving core is definitely one of the least desirable groups in the NFL. While it is highly unlikely that any of these wide receivers have true wide receiver 1 potential, one receiver could emerge as a low-end wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3, and Nico Collins is my favorite player to be that guy. Collins has yet to break out, but showed some promise in 2022 when healthy. Collins had a small string of games, weeks 10 through 13, where he averaged 9 targets per game with 2 total touchdowns, operating as the Texans' wide receiver 1. The sample size is very slim, but he is one of the more promising options outside of the top 100. Coaches tend to speak very positively of players during the offseason, but D'Amico Ryans did recently mention that Collins likely has some of the best hands on the team, and that is big praise when playing alongside Robert Woods. And that is very appealing trait for a rookie quarterback, especially one that has thrived off of accuracy like CJ Stroud. Now let's close things out with someone who I truly believe is going to make a surprising impact in 2023. Darnell Mooney is coming off a wildly disappointing season where he finished as wide receiver 72 in PPR, averaging less than 10 fantasy points per game. And after being overly hyped as the breakout player in 2022, now he is a very interesting late-round target. Mooney is coming off an injury that cut his 2022 season short, but he's back and he is reportedly healthy and ready to go for training camp and should serve as the wide receiver 2 behind DJ Moore. And that's a perfect spot for him because when we last saw Mooney thrive, he was playing as the wide receiver 2 behind Allen Robinson. In 2021, Mooney finished as wide receiver 23 in PPR with over 1,000 receiving yards, an impressive feat considering that offense was led by Andy Dalton and the rookie version of Justin Fields. Mooney is a late round value pick with wide receiver 2 upside. He is very low risk, very solid reward type of player, and he is readily available in the late round of your fantasy drafts. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like the video and subscribe, and comment below which receivers you are targeting in late rounds, and stick around for more fantastic offseason content.